You're listening to the SoulShape Podcast, where we focus on your spiritual fitness, or what we like to call your energetic self-care. We're sisters and the co-founders of SoulShape, a quantum wellness app designed to make it easier and accessible to find healing practitioners in the energy healing world, and the soon-to-be Soul Gym. We want to have soulful conversations about spirituality and holistic wellness. And whether you are dabbling or taking a deep dive into energy healing, we want to introduce modalities and healing practitioners to you one by one. So it's time to get into SoulShape. My name is LJ Woodard, and this is my sister, Leslie Bennett. Leslie, who are we talking with today?
Well, we're talking with one of my good friends, Marianne Goldyn of Golden Light. And you know what we're going to be talking about?
I do.
Oh, do you want me to share?
I do.
Okay.
I don't know what we're talking about.
We're talking about.
We did
Well,
mention it.
this will be an interesting podcast episode. Then, in all seriousness, we're going to be talking about loving the journey.
And yes, loving the journey. Let's tell you a little bit about Marianne first. Marianne is not only a friend. Hi, Marianne. Welcome.
Hi.
She's our friend. Marianne's background covers a lot. First of all, she holds a professional license as an advanced practice psychiatric mental health clinical nurse specialist with over 30 years experience. I won't go into details with all the degrees. She is the real deal. Plus has a long list of certifications that qualifies her to be an extraordinary soul catalyst. She is an ancestor tender, storyteller, scribe, and quantum artist. I love that.
I do too.
And she offers oracle readings, intuitive counseling, and private therapy, which are all available on the SoulShape app. And this is the theme about loving the journey. And you've had quite the journey. Let's talk about healing journeys. And why do we gotta love it, even though it might be painful and difficult? Why do we have to love the journey?
Because that's all there really is, right? Is love. When you boil it down, when you look at quantum physics, we know everything's a vibration. And ultimately, that vibration, that oneness, that God, that source, that great spirit, whatever you want to call it, is the vibration of love. So if you don't love your journey, it's hard to walk yourself back home and to help walk other people back home to that oneness that we all are. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. But
you guys are speechless.
well,
Laura's
no,
going, "Wait
you
a
know what
minute."
it means. Well, here I'm like, I want to represent that someone who is in the muck, and you're telling me I got to love the muck.
Yeah.
There's an uck word that I want to send to you.
Yeah.
Well, uck you too.
I mean, that's the only reason why I paused, because I'm like, I know, that's so nice. Yes, of course.
Okay, so you want me to get real.
I love the.
But
I
no, I
gotta
just-
love the journey, but
it's one of those things that and we're gonna just get you out of here because we know each other so well. But I know. Well, and you feel free to use my life because I'm pretty open. But there's times where you're just like, I'm not gonna love this. I want to be in that muck.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also those people that have been in the muck for so long. How do you get them to embrace it and love it? So, that's kind of, I love my journey.
Mm-hmm.
There were times though, I had the uck word in my head and in my heart,
Mm-hmm.
but, what advice do you give to those people?
Well, let me say this. All right, I'll come down from the clouds, okay?
Yeah.
So my initial statement was that grand overall
Sure.
philosophical belief system that I embody. My experience, I grew up in poverty. I grew up with a lot of complex trauma that I experienced myself multiple ways. I went on to college. I, started living in the world, started doing my thing. And I had the opportunity to work with people at their worst. So I worked for 30 years with the disenfranchised, street people on the street, homeless, people diagnosed with severe and persistent mental illness. My specialty was schizophrenia. Encountered all kinds of vets, all kinds of drug addiction, all kinds of mental illness. So I saw a lot of muck.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
A lot of muck.
despair.
And I often say, we're driving down the street and you see a stray dog on the side of the road. 9 out of 10 people might stop and say, "Oh, let's take him to, let's help this
Mhm.
this animal, but we see a homeless person
Drive right on by.
or somebody that appears off, we're scared and we run away.
Or call the
So
police.
That's so
what
true.
I've done my whole life is move towards that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I know muck. And I tend to not talk about that too much because, I want to give this other message, but there's nobody that can tell me anything that I'm afraid of. I know that's a grand statement,
Yeah.
but people can tell me their story. I will hold it and listen to it and walk with them through that. And that's what Golden Light is. No matter what your story is, tell me your story. I will hold that and let's start the conversation. Let's start. And how you get through that muck, I'm a believer of going within. And people will say to me, I'm afraid because there's something dark and ugly inside of me. I'm afraid of who I'm going to find within me. And I don't necessarily say this to them. It depends on the person, but I'm like, good. That's the good stuff. Because the darker that feels, the darker that is inside of you, the brighter that light is behind it. I have no doubt about that. And what happens in traditional psychotherapy, my experience, is that you sit in the room and you talk and you talk and you talk and you fall down that hole and, somebody helps pull you back out. You got to go through. You got to go down, down, down until you get out the other side. It's not about falling in the hole and having somebody help you out because you never heal that way.
Yeah.
So I walk through the ugly. I walk through, I hate to use the word shadow and shadow work because it's such a buzzword now and it's almost pop culture. But, I have a basis in depth psychology and Jungian psychoanalysis. And, that's who Carl Jung coined the shadow work. And I do that. So how do we get to the love? We definitely go through the darkness and the shadow, the dark night of the soul.
I really like the through work because it's when you get to the other side that you can go. And everyone, as you hear stories, whether it was on Oprah or whether it's on some other,
Like any talk show.
where someone talks about their
healing
journey,
yeah.
Right.
and they're at
right.
the other side of it, they all have a gratitude for having gone through it because it made them better. It made them stronger. It gave them wisdom
Mm-hmm.
that they can now apply to be better, to grow more, to expand. And so, for those listeners that are in the muck, just keep going. You've got the support or find support. There's definitely support on the SoulShape app. Or find it wherever your intuition or heart or mind guides you. So,
Exactly.
I wonder how we can, whatever that reminder may be, when you are going through those hard times, when you're the word of the day is muck. Okay, going through the the muck is let's pick something that's maybe a little bit lighter than maybe grief or addiction or something. But let's say you just wanted to lose weight. I want to lose weight. Okay, I'm on a path. I'm gonna go lose weight. I'm gonna join the gym. I've got my nutrition, my diet. I got this. It's like right now, what I'm talking about, I'm kind of getting excited about it because I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to fit in this size. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to be able to live longer, all these different things. I think you have to, that's part about like, you got to love the journey. And some people are like, I'm on a diet. Ugh, man, I don't get to eat this. I don't get to, but think of all the things you can do. I mean, how do we get to that state to remind ourselves that the journey is, though difficult, how do we really embrace it? How do we love it?
We tell a different story. I am all about storytelling. And one of the ladies I was talking to last night, another SoulShape practitioner, said, I'm not a storyteller. I'm not into stories. I don't like stories. I'm like, you're telling me one right now. Everything we say is a story. I don't like to diet. Then don't. So, when I worked with weight loss with clients, I would say, let's add some things. Instead of taking away, let's change the story because
Yeah.
everybody thinks it's lack. And I don't live in lack anymore, right? I try not to use those words. So the minute you say diet, people think lack. take something away from me. Let's change the story,
I love
man.
that, Marianne.
Let's add an apple. I don't know, let's add celery juice. Let's add, something
Pick
healthy.
something. Everyone's like, apple, celery juice. No, I mean, I love that. That's great. I mean,
Well, or something that is healthy. So let's just add instead of taking away. So that's how I work with people where they're at and curate a story with them that is specific to them that really excites them.
I
You
think
know,
that's beautiful.
If movement excites you, LJ, then I would say instead of starting with, changing everything you eat and all that, just take a walk every day. Let's start with small steps, literally,
Right.
or that. So you change the story. We're stuck in our stories and everybody has one.
They do.
And we don't have to tell that story anymore if we don't want to.
It's almost like getting rid of the excuses.
Yeah, it's another way to look at that.
Yeah. Let's just get rid of the excuses and let's
Yeah.
just create a beautiful story. Like, what's your happy ending? Let's go on that path.
Well, let's not go there.
No, sorry.
Or wait, let's go there. No, I'm kidding.
Marianne said that, not me.
And Leslie's just keeping her mouth shut.
Well, no, because as we're talking about the story and changing the story, as you know this, and I'm pausing because after my husband died, there was a plot twist, and I'm not going to talk about what the plot twist is. I'm not ready to do that. But the therapist, told me because he's not here, I get to write the story as to what that plot twist meant.
Sure.
And that was very, it was liberating. It caught me off guard at the moment when I was in my therapy sessions, but it was very liberating at the moment. And so much so that, that comment has resonated with me throughout this. So that
It was probably a good release for you, too. I mean,
yeah. And maybe one day I will talk about the plot twist, but there's people that
stay
I
tuned.
need,
Season
no, I know.
3, 4,
No,
and 5.
but there are people
The
that
plot twist.
there are family members that I need to speak to first before
Sure.
that goes public. So, I just getting to that comment of, that freedom that I felt because I can be the recipient
Right.
of that, change the story, change the perspective. And, that even happened recently with Soul Gym.
Absolutely.
Right. So we're trying to build Soul Gym, which is a gym for the soul. And a little plug here,
We're not trying. We're in the process of building Soul Gym.
Well, we do
Yeah.
mention in the intro and the soon-to-be Soul Gym. What is the Soul
Yeah,
Gym,
but-
Leslie?
but
Tell
we
us.
had a
No, seriously, give us a little.
Oh, you want to talk about Soul
I'd
Gym
love
first,
to know
and then
what
we'll
Soul
talk
Gym
about
is
what
for a minute.
Well, Soul Gym is that gym for the soul. It's something I would have wanted, when I was going through grief, where I could, just work on that inner self, work on going into that darkness,
Exactly.
and have the gym, that facilities, to go and work whatever that is out, whether it was sadness, whether it was anger, whether it was just, finding joy for the day. That's what Soul Gym's designed to do. And you can find more on soulgym.com, and that's gym with a J, not a G. But getting back to, what happened with Soul Gym, it had been stagnant for a little bit, but we had someone say, don't look over here, move over here.
Exactly.
And that story change has allowed
been
so many,
huge.
it's allowed new people to come in that are helping us.
Absolutely.
It's allowing new ideas to come
An
in.
energy booster for sure for us.
And so we have a path now that's really exciting to do. So I really believe in storytelling and loving that. Like I fell back in love with Soul Gym. Not that I was out of love, but there was no spark.
Yeah, it got pretty stale for you.
Yeah, it got so finding that spark. And so I would say the word of the day, muck. If someone's in that muck, find that spark. Just a little shift can mean a huge deal.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need that third party, that other person to
Yes.
help you see that. Because a lot of us are like, I have all this training. I've been through my own individual therapy. I am a therapist. I have, all this stuff. But I need people to go, hey, look over here, idiot.
Yeah.
Your head's up your ass.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say that too, because, when it comes to a healing or a soulful journey, it might just be within yourself, your long walks, the meditation, the breath work. You're going inside.
Mm-hmm.
but you still need help. You know,
It's nice to have somebody walk beside you. As a nurse, I was trained that we work side by side with the client. It's not,
Mhm. Looking down at
looking
them.
down or I'm better than you. It's, how can I be with you and guide you? Just putting an arm around,
Mhm.
taking a walk. Okay, maybe we should step over here. So I do that gently, but I am assertive. And my therapy's quick. I don't want to work with people for a long period of time at all. We go deep, fast. I wanted to bring up a little bit about internal family systems.
Yep.
Richard Schwartz, who is the creator of that wonderful psychologist, and it's getting a lot of traction these days. It's going to be like shadow work. Everybody's going to be doing IFS, they call it, and I call it the pieces parts. But we all have voices within us that like right now, there's a certain persona that is talking out of me. And it's not necessarily the persona that MJ saw this morning when I was frantically trying to find this and that and getting ready and screaming and yelling. That's a whole different part of me, right?
Right.
And so I help people get in touch with all those voices and learn to acknowledge them, love them, talk to them. And that work goes fast. Hal and Sidra Stone are actually the pioneers of that with voice dialogue. I want to
Yeah.
kind of just mention that because
This is part of your long list of certifications. I mean, it was long. You had a lot. So
I'm a researcher. I'm a triple air. I'm a
Mhm.
Libra sun, Aquarius rising, Aquarius moon. So I'm in my head. I research, I research, I research.
I'm sure if anyone, when people are listening, not that you can overcome this quick, but I do like that you work fast because sometimes it can.
I do.
I
I
don't know.
work
There's so
fast.
many programs that are like, oh, this 9 month, 2 year, even 6 months. Not that it has to happen in a weekend, but how much? Like when you do, I know you have on the app. What's it? The deep dive or the soul immersion.
Whew, you got to be ready for that, sister.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's deep. I do. I have, you tell me your story. You have 1 hour to tell me your story. I barely talk. You just tell me any story you want for 1 hour. And then off of that, I create about a 15 to 20 page report. And in that, this is where it gets a little woo woo because I'm a scientist. I love science, but I'm also a little esoteric. And I love the esoteric. I love the ancient mysteries. I love that. And I think that there's a place for both.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. I get information from elsewhere. Sometimes I'll say I channel. I don't feel real comfortable saying that because I'm not exactly sure what that is. But I tap into something, get information. So I create these reports for people that really blow them away. It's part psychological, and then there's this whole like, where the hell did you get that? But it's so accurate.
It
And
sounds like a very unique type of therapy.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. And so we review that, excuse me. And then I have what normal people would call a treatment plan at the end. If based on this report in this moment in time in this story where you're at right now, this is what I think could help move you. And then they can choose to work with me or not. In the immersion package, I think there's like 6 sessions after that. And I require them at least once a week. You can't go like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. I had one woman 3 times a week working with me for 3 months. And it rocked her world. I mean, it was so intense. And they're 1 to 2 hour sessions. And then I just dive in and I cultivate a very specific program for that person. So I can't really talk about, what I do in each
Like
session
week
because it's
one, we
different.
do calisthenics.
Right, right. It's very different. And one of the things that started evolving out of this was I started, I've always seen like art in my head. When I close my eyes, I see geometric patterns. I was seeing what I call fractals. And I started putting them on paper. And as I was working with clients, I started using their personal numbers, their date of birth, their numerology, location of birth. I got real crazy lately, and I use gravity and latitude and longitude and all these numbers. I put them in the Mandelbrot set, which is a mathematical equation. This is a whole other episode, I have a feeling. And I create a personal fractal. So at the time of your birth, as you came into this world, what the energy fingerprint of your soul looks like in color.
Sounds like a new modality, Marianne.
Well, and this is something that Leslie and I, I was doing it, and I was in San Diego hanging out with Leslie, and she's just, you know how Leslie is. She's just walking through the house doing this or that, putting something away, and go, well, why don't you do this? Well, this sounds, and then she just give me these one-liners, like, I'd be like, oh, I should do that. Like, she's like, did you ever, like, because I was, like, she was born in San Diego, right? And so I would just put the latitude and longitude of San Diego. She goes, what if I gave you the actual address of the hospital? And we did a fractal before and after, and it was incredible.
Wow.
You could see the shift, but I'm kind of getting off topic. But these personal fractals came out of doing these deep dives and the therapy with a client. And then people were like, oh, you need to sell this separate, because I was just including this JPEG of this incredible piece of art that's unique.
You're giving them a little bonus.
Right.
A big bonus.
And they would get it and go, what am I supposed to do with this? And I'm like, well, use it as a personal mandala, meditate on it, because it
Frame
really...
it and put it on the wall.
Right. So then my colleague and dear friend, she who walks with me, MJ, she said, you need to start an art business. And then all of a sudden, at the same time, we're like, Soul Chi Art. We just came up with Soul Chi Art. So I started that 2 years ago.
It's so beautiful,
Now,
Marianne.
you got to know, and then I'll shut up, that
No, please, keep talking.
all of this started, I met Leslie. I walked up to her, didn't know her at all, at a Oracle Palooza, Colette Baron Reed conference. She's running to her car, hoping not to see anybody. I walked up to her and I said, hey, I'm magical. Because Colette said, go out, find a stranger, and tell them you're magical.
We did have homework, and I didn't listen to it.
And I hate homework. I hate doing that kind of stuff. I wanted to
Leslie.
swear there.
You're so lucky. Now you got a good friend.
And she whipped around. And
she startled me.
She looked at me and she goes, tell me your story. And then I fell apart because I didn't have a story. That was my story. I didn't know my story, But
That's my story. I didn't know my story.
exactly. I fell in love with Soul Gym. And admire Leslie. I could go on and on about Leslie and how much I regard her. And because we couldn't get it, I'm a worker bee. I didn't have these, I'm like, I'm with you. Can I just be on your coattails and learn? and I'll bring your coffee. I'll do whatever. I'll fetch. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I just wanted to be in the
Be part of the
presence.
magic.
And Soul Gym is such a great idea. And things were taking a while, and I needed to get to work. And so I created my private practice waiting for Soul Gym.
She did.
And then that evolved into my art. So all of this is filler.
Yeah.
Because my true, what I want to do is Soul Gym.
Well, it's meaningful filler.
It is. It
It
is.
is.
And so I'm, it's interesting.
But they
because
will be offered within Soul Gym, so we needed that.
the process of Soul Gym brought me to that part of me and helped me create this. Kind of forced that. So Soul Gym kind of has its own healing energy.
Marianne, have you always been playful? Because to go up to someone and say, hi, I'm magical. I
Oh,
mean,
no, that is so not me.
Okay, I was wondering.
I hate that stuff.
Okay.
I hate going to showers and playing those baby games.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God, I hate all that stuff. I am not that person at all.
But we have the best meet cute. I love it.
We do. We do. But we were
Wow.
both kind of curmudgeonly about it. And we were both kind of like reluctantly had this conversation. And then it just kind of kept going. And then she's like, well,
I
let's
can't
do
get rid of her.
lunch tomorrow.
Well, that's what, she's here.
Well, it's kind of true because I showed up and said, I'm just going to come and help you take
Well,
care
Marianne,
of your
you've
dad.
also been a
Oh.
wonderful,
You
just
have
being,
banked.
a human being to our family. And, well, you're forever. You're
No,
forever
thank you.
part of
You're
our
a forever-
family.
you're a
You're kinda-
forever friend.
You're kind of stuck with me. You say you're the sisters of SoulShape, Soul Gym, and that, but I'm the stepsister.
Yeah. Oh no, you are a forever friend.
We should thank Colette. Hi, Colette. I don't know you personally, but
Colette Baron Reed,
Yes, I
yes.
mean, I do listen to her podcast, and
She's wonderful.
She is wonderful, and I love that
incredible.
she had you guys do that homework because there is that. We learned in another episode about being playful, how that can be such a wonderful thing to be open to that. We're always like, don't be afraid to play.
Right, right.
And it is in essence, it's a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it
Absolutely.
is. So.
Gotta laugh at myself.
I want to get back to the fractal art for just a second. I'm
Okay.
going to do a little bit of a plug here because, we're in the fourth quarter of the year. It's gift giving time, right?
Oh,
And so if someone's looking for a unique gift for someone,
yeah, it's incredible.
it is absolutely incredible. And I have to say too that when you look at the art, and we'll put it in the show notes. We can show that's mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
when you meditate with it, the image with it, there is some energies that come off of it. For those listeners that are super tuned to energy, I'm starting to get charged myself as I'm talking about this because I think there's a calling. You're going to get drawn to it, and trust me, I think there's some magic to the fractal art. So I would go on to the SoulShape app and get yourself your soul art, your fractal art, or give it to someone, because
No.
it's really what
Right now, I don't have.
you're not doing.
I don't have.
Oh, I missed that plug.
Well, I don't have art on SoulShape.
Well, they can find you on the app and then
They can go to
lead
Soul
that.
Art then.
Yeah, they can go to soulchiart.com.
We'll put a link in.
My therapy practice is on SoulShape.
Okay.
I haven't quite figured out how to. I got to meet with LJ and
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get Marianne
and get
organized.
me
Wherever,
updated.
it doesn't matter
Marianne Goldyn
whether
of
it's
Golden
on
Light.
the app or SoulShape art. It doesn't matter to me because this art is so. Profound doesn't seem the right word. It feels like if your soul's called to it, it'll be called to it. If it's not for you. But it's there. Each art is so different. So mine's yellow and purple, but I've seen some of these others where it's just greens or blues, and I have no say in the color. It's based on the math. We'll put up LJ's isn't done yet, so we'll put up mine and we'll put up LJ so you can really see the difference. And I would just say go to SoulShape Art and you can look at the different ones. And that's all I'm going to say about the art. We're here to talk about loving the journey, but maybe we can talk about your journey on what drew you to the fractal art. Like how did that journey go?
Wow, I was doing research. Like I said earlier, I've always had this thing where when I close my eyes, it's like a kaleidoscope, and I thought everybody had that. You don't know what you don't know, right? Yep. And whoever says to you, "What do you see when you close your eyes?" I mean, I never thought to ask anybody, right? So I've always had these images, and I've doodled them my whole life, but never did anything with them. And I don't know what I was researching, but I came up to the Mandelbrot set, which is a mathematical equation. And it's very complex, but when I started looking at fractals, which are self-similar infinite patterns that repeat, fractals are everywhere in nature. So the veins of a leaf, branches of a tree, how that repeats. Snowflake is a fractal. Seashells are fractals. You look at a head of cauliflower, that's a fractal, that self-similar repeating pattern, and it goes on infinitum. When I started seeing the images created by this mathematical equation, they were what I see when I close my eyes.
That's so cool.
And I freaked out. I got goosebumps. Look at that. And I started asking people, do you see this? Do you see this? And then people are like, oh, what's going on with Marianne? I'm like, did you see that? Do you see this? And some people.
What are you taking? I want some
No,
of that.
I'm just listening to you. This is the beauty of art.
Most people don't, but I have come
It's the
across
beauty
a
of it.
few that have actually looked at my art and written me and said, I see this too. Thank you for, doing this because I see this too. And so that's kind of how the art started. And I'm not a good math person. I don't want to say anything too negative about, I used to say,
Mathematicians.
I hate math, but I love math. I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah.
And so it was,
Create that vibration.
we all grew up learning Pythagorean theorem and Euclidean geometry, right? Circle,
God.
squares, rhombus.
Sorry,
You
I'm negative
know,
now. That was hard.
a
Euclidean,
squared plus b
non-Euclidean
squared
geometry.
equals c squared. So we teach kids that, but those are like platonic solids. And really what the universe and nature is built on are the snowflakes, a blade of grass, leaves, the structure in the soil. And that's the Mandelbrot equation. And that was just discovered, in the late 70s, early 80s. And so that equation, like a squared plus b squared equals c squared, tells us about the hypotenuse of a triangle and 90 degrees and all this and how to construct that. Well, this Mandelbrot equation creates the image that you saw in Leslie's fractal.
Mm-hmm.
There's that image, that unending, infinite image is in that. But I'm using her personal numbers. And it's a trade secret how I do it exactly, or else I would tell you. But I can show you. I've been working on yours, Laura.
Yeah.
Laura, LJ.
Yeah.
I never call you Laura.
I know that just came out. It happens often on
But
the
see,
podcast.
I'm gonna flash the numbers. There's a lot of math involved.
Oh,
And you're very interesting because you've got a lot of master numbers. 9, 11, and 33 are very
don't
important
give
numbers
away
to you.
my lotto numbers.
I was gonna say, but
Did
you've
anyone
got-
win last?
They did. Someone did in California.
somebody from Ohio
Petunia.
won the other day. So.
No, someone won the whole 1.5 billion in Kern County, California.
I woke up in the middle of
Kern
the night
County.
thinking, is that why I'm waking up?
There
Did
you
I
go.
win? Do I need to check the numbers?
No, you don't.
So as we go infinitely deep on our personal journey, on that journey that we're going to love to get through the muck, so does that personal fractal that I create.
Mm.
And so one of the ways to have fun and be playful is to look at the art and sit with it and say, this is an imprint of me. Like some people call the Mandelbrot set the thumbprint of God.
Wow.
I know it's quite a.
That's pretty deep.
It is. It's quite a thing, and we all have a thumbprint.
That makes
and
us
we
so
know
unique, truly.
Right, and every thumbprint's different, but it's a thumbprint. It's similar, right?
Yeah.
So that's the fractal, and your personal fractal tells you a lot about who you've been, the lives you've lived, and your potential.
So that must have helped you too when you're working with a client, someone, in these deep dives or soul immersions. It's like you do this separately now, but this was something you always did to complement, but it must have helped you a lot
Right.
in, guiding them through their healing journey. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And some would be like, I'm not into that. And some would really be into it. And we just work around the art part,
Well, it's definitely a heart opener for you. I mean, you beam when you talk about it. So
Yeah,
it's
I get excited. I get tongue twisted. It's hard because everything is so jumbled up inside of me. And I just want to get it out really fast and tell everybody how wonderful it is.
well, I can't. I didn't know you were working on one for me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I thought I would have it done this morning, but I can't rush the artistic
You don't have to rush
process.
it. That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yep. Okay. So loving the journey. So you loved your art journey. So I love that and how that evolved. I think there's other things too, as someone's going through a journey and you're coaching and going through this soul immersion, what happens when someone isn't receiving? Is there a way to, for example, I don't want to hear what you're telling me. How do you work through someone like that?
It's a tough question to answer because there's so many other variables. I don't have that happen. I mean, I have people say, no, I don't want to do it that way. Or because I do a lot of guided imagery. I'll do a lot of voice dialogue. And actors love voice dialogue. You find all the hidden theatrical people.
I can't imagine an actor not liking their voice. As a
They
joke.
love voice dialogue. So you say, I want to
My
hear.
sister's rolling her eyes.
So let me talk to that person that just said that. That's what I do in voice dialogue, and you personify that.
Yeah.
Well, how old are they? What do they look like?
Mm.
And so a lot of people may not resonate with they feel funny, and you actually talk in the third person
Well,
a
it's
lot
slightly,
of times.
it's performative, right?
It's very performative.
So
and some
a lot of
people-
people just don't. I'm not doing that. So
Right.
not
Yeah.
everyone wants to get up and public speak. So
Right,
it's not
and
their-
just
it's not their jam.
one-on-one, they have a hard time talking in the third person. And we would talk about LJ, you and I, this voice of yours that just said that would talk about LJ and over here.
Mhm.
So it gets a little interesting,
Oh,
but
that would be
it
interesting.
opens up a
I
lot
want to talk about myself,
in
not here.
Right. So you step outside yourself.
That's interesting.
That's just one of my tools. I have so many different tools. So when somebody says, no, and this is the thing, if people are gonna, I'm really good at what I do,
Yes, she is.
and I'm not somebody that's arrogant. I say that because I'm gifted through I believe in a higher source, and I believe that works through me. It's not Marianne. I'm really good at using that divinity to help people and move people quickly. And if you're going to work with me and pay the money, you're going to want to do the work.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's not like when I worked in community mental health and somebody was court ordered to see me and they'd be sitting there.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know.
curmudgeon.
And right. And I'd be like, look, we have an hour. What do you want to do? We could sit here and be angry or, I have a lot of tools.
Well, and that's what's so nice about like this tool, the podcast. Anyone could be listening to you right now. Right now, a healer is like finding your perfect match. It's like when someone finds a therapist or the doctor or their gyno or the dentist or whatever, or hairdresser, it's like everything has to be that right match, that you, that you're in sync with. And not that we have to be completely aligned and agreeing. Sometimes that's just hearing Marianne right now. Like, I want to do a deep dive. I'm ready. Sign me up. I mean, no,
It'd be good for you.
I know, trust me. But it's like,
easier.
there's a reason why Marianne's here on the podcast. But
I mean, there's only so much a sister can do.
Poor Leslie. Leslie's had to be my Marianne for some time now.
I'm joking.
But,
Laura's amazing. I just want, she's perfect.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I get
I
a little
mean
bit
that
sweet.
with the best sister intentions.
Thank you, Leslie.
Not
But
being
no, Marianne,
mean.
people would be very lucky to have, if someone's in the muck, feeling blocked, needs to do a deep dive, needs to, I don't know,
Shift direction. Sometimes we just don't know. I need to shift.
I mean, so many of our healers, that's what they
Where do you
help you
go?
with is clarity, finding answers when we are really discovering our own truth. But I know you are a soul catalyst. You are.
Thank you. Yeah, that word I thought really, I help people figure out who they are at their truest level. And it's an incredible journey for me. I mean, I do a lot of healing work through doing the therapy, and I learned so much from other people.
And it must be so fun after being a nurse all those years. I'm sure it's just coming out. I mean, I don't want that sounds awful. Being a nurse is so noble, right? You do the work. But
Or
this
not.
is like, yeah.
Yes.
But it just what a great
Well,
way
I
to
was
compliment it.
stuck in the advanced practice nurse world. So I was prescribing medicine. So I was a cheap doctor.
Mm.
I mean, that's in Ohio. It was like, we're going to pay you a shit ton of money. We're going to give you 10 minutes to see a patient, and you're going to have to diagnose them and prescribe medicine. Like, wait a minute.
That's a
I went
huge
to
responsibility.
nursing school.
Yeah.
I didn't go to med school, went to nursing school. And I had carved out a really nice niche for myself. And then I had to, move for life circumstances. And so the life I had carved out, my professional life, I had more time and I could really get a good diagnostic assessment. But then I really got stuck in the whole pharmaceutical world. Sorry, Leslie, and the whole prescribing and, trying to really understand what are we doing here? And we don't really understand schizophrenia, but yet we're going to prescribe these really powerful meds. And I did that for 13 years. I prescribed meds. And then I started to hate myself because I didn't really, it wasn't in alignment anymore. And I said day after day after day, I didn't get my graduate degree to become a prescriber.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how healthcare and the system went. And
It
not
makes me
to
just like
say,
have a bad taste in my mouth when you're just describing that.
I just
feeling
need to
like,
say though that I'm not anti-medicine, and medicine, I've seen it do wonders.
Mhm.
So I'm not dogging that at all because I believe in science and I believe there's good people creating good medicine.
There's a blend of East and West. I believe we
And-
should blend.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me,
Where appropriate.
I got to a point in my career where I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I had to step aside. and do my own personal work. And then I met Leslie, and I was magical.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who, I need to move forward, but I just don't know where to point.
Back to Soul Gym.
Yeah, exactly. It's always about me. No, it's not. If you knew me well, you would know that's not me at all. Most of the time. No, just kidding.
And so it is. I'm kidding. This is just a joke.
There's another rolling eye moment. No, but there are people, in all seriousness, there are people that, as we manage and we're no longer in alignment with where we are, and we can feel it, right? It's that drive to work when we still drove. Do we enjoy that drive, or is it like you're already like that hour commute? You're just sitting there going, "Oh, I have to make it through another day," and you're already depleted of energy before you walk in. So I'm sure that these soul immersions can help people move out of that depletion mode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember, when I was when I had staff when I was in pharmaceuticals, and our company was closing, and I was advising my staff of job options for them. I'd always ask about, is this company worth the hour drive commute or however long it was? And I had them make decisions based on that, because you can kind of tell in interviews, whether you want to be part of that team. Like, I remember one interview 15 years ago where they touted that they worked on weekends. And I mean, every single, because usually, you interview the whole team. And the whole team touted that. Like, we work really hard. We work the weekends.
Brainwash.
And I just thought,
We work until midnight.
wow. I know they
We
kind
never
of
stop working.
And there are moments in pharma because, that you do that because you're meeting with a health authority or something.
Deadline or something.
Yeah. But that was all they touted. It was so strange to me.
Yeah.
But so I asked that. But anyway, we're way overdue, because we love talking to Marianne on our Soulful Stretch. So, a Soulful Stretch for those that are not usual or normal.
Our usual
listeners. You guys are all normal.
Unusual.
That was horrible.
I think unusual listeners.
Got to
are
watch
good.
my language.
It's okay.
Anyway, so the
words.
Soulful Stretch is where we, has there been something during this conversation where you have, changed a belief, you've, maybe opened your heart, or you're something that has shifted. So that's what we call a soulful stretch. It's something in our consciousness that's stretched. And I have to say, this one's a little tough for this conversation. So I'm going to go to a personal one. And that's because I know Marianne so well. I know what we're going to talk about. So for me, I really want to talk about my soulful stretch in regards to, those shifts and being open to them and allowing the spark to come in. So that's what I'm stretching. And then when those paths open up, continuing to walk forward and having the courage to do so. That's my soulful stretch.
That's a big one.
And
Isn't it?
my soulful stretch is create the story, change the story,
Well, that's a
whatever
good
it
one,
is.
too.
The story. I mean, so many times we say, "Oh, I want to do this, but it's always going to be hard." And this, no, I'm gonna create a different story so I have that outcome that I want, and that's part of loving the journey. So I like, we get to become better storytellers. Actually, I like that.
I like that a lot. Mine's interesting, a little personal, and somehow this conversation triggered this. In my personal life over the past year, I've had two significant people in my life in crisis and going through difficulties where I was not allowed in. They didn't allow me in to assist. And Marianne's not used to that.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Actually,
it's extremely heartbreaking.
you're Superman and you
Extremely.
can't go in and save the building.
And I don't think I can save everybody. I'm well beyond that. But these were people that are soul people in my soul group, and my presence in their life created more turmoil. And to recognize that. So this conversation kind of helped me see that again. So that is a stretch for me, and it's a brand new lesson.
Stretch it out, Marianne.
So I'm stretching
Stretch
that
it
out.
out
And if I
soulfully.
can stretch that out, then I can love the journey even more.
See? Well,
We're going to have to talk about that at lunch.
Marianne, This is Marianne Goldyn of Golden Light, and you can learn more about her at goldenlight.com, or you can find her offerings on SoulShape. We want to say thank you, Marianne. Thank you so much. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Signal Fire Media, and to all of our listeners. We believe wellness starts within, and you can unlock unlimited possibilities with energetic healing. Embrace the woo. Dabble, dive, or discover your next healing experience on the SoulShape app. We hope you've enjoyed this soulful stretch and that you do something to raise your vibration today, because the ripple effects are endless. Join us again and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the SoulShape Podcast. Thank you so much.
Bye.